Yet again, we have an episode that involves all of the main six. This seems to be happening more often in Season 4. But unlike Testing 1, 2, 3, where each of the main six gets their moment to shine but don't really have the focus of the story, Tragia actually gives each of the main six their own little story arc within a single episode. Kind of like Castlemania, except not quite as predictable in my opinion. Of course, we did get a moment early on when Fluttershy mentions she really wants a bird call, and of course we know the episode would end with her getting one. But I must say that I kept getting surprised at each step of the journey along the way. And really, this episode is just chock full of little things here and there that you might miss the first time around, which of course makes the episode more enjoyable upon a second viewing. As the episode begins, we get a very quick little explanation from Pinkie on what the story will be about. Not an ideal way to set up the plot, but at least we move on to more interesting things, like we get to see the citizens of Equestria celebrating Twilight's royal status. And this actually works itself into the story in a meaningful way. Even though I would like to see a few more episodes where Twilight's new position is at least recognized, I can appreciate how the writers played up her royal status into a bit of a conflict between Pinkie and Twilight. And that's still only one of several subplots going on in this episode. We see Applejack and Rarity having another personality clash, which at first I thought might be leading into another episode-long conflict where both of them are refusing to give in. And it would have been really easy for the writers to just have them spend their time trying to convince each other to buy the pie tin or buy the brooch. But thankfully, the episode didn't focus on these two any more than what was really needed. They had their setup, their initial conflict of buying what each of them wanted, a secondary conflict where each of them was trying to be the better friend, and then it ended with the both of them showing that they do understand how to make up. And to top it off, they even had their moments of comedy together to make the conflict more entertaining.
I found a super valuable vintage item I just have to have, and all it's gonna cost is all our stuff! Uh-oh.
So I think the writers handled this mini story arc just fine. But the plot line with the most focus in this episode, and well-deservedly so, goes to the Pegasi. Once again, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy work off of each other extremely well. And their story arc had the most potential out of all the main six, and we are given quite a few enjoyable moments from it. At first I was thinking that Rainbow Dash would never be able to trade a rusty old horseshoe, and they would inevitably end up trading away Fluttershy's bear call. But actually no. I was legitimately surprised to see that going far enough down the line, there was someone interested in trading for it. And when the crystal goblet ended up breaking, I thought that maybe they'd have to find something else to trade so they could get another one. Actually no. Turns out that it worked better to have the goblet getting smashed anyways. And when the next pony down the line went on a break, who has a rather interesting contraption for his back legs by the way, I thought that maybe they'd need to negotiate with everyone in front of him just to get him his lunch. But yet again, actually no. We see our two Pegasi rush into the food stand and start serving everyone to get the line moving faster. I say kudos to the writers for all the times I didn't manage to predict what was coming next. And on top of that, we actually get another reference to Greek mythology. They use a two-headed dog called an orthrus. I had never even heard of that term before, but sure enough, the writers did their bit of homework and turned it into both a threatening and adorable new creature for the world of Equestria. Seriously, I love seeing Fluttershy taming yet another wild beast. But the references don't stop there. Power Ponies is mentioned again, Rainbow Falls is the center of a story again, Daring Do is mentioned again. Not only do we get to see the same lamp that Discord made in Keep Calm and Flutter On, but we also get to see his likeness in a lot of other lamps. Twilight was referencing Spike at Your Service, and even the very first episode in the series when Twilight met Pinkie for the first time. The list goes on and on. I had to go back and look through this episode several times because each rewatch showed me yet another little tidbit that I hadn't noticed before. They were showing Fluttershy and Rainbow dragging the Orthrus in the background right when Applejack and Rarity were having their argument. Throughout the episode, we see Spike negotiating his comic book with someone else. Then we have some interesting quirks from Pinkie Pie. Seriously, I don't know whether I should be laughing at this scene or trying to put together another analysis on Pinkie's mental state. Perhaps both. One other little thing I figured I should mention is the gavel Twilight uses near the end. At first I wondered whether it might have been another key due to the rainbow design on it. But then again, this is taking place at Rainbow Falls, and there isn't any telling moment when someone is rediscovering their element. I would say that this is definitely one of the more interesting episodes I've seen in Season 4. I could tell that things weren't going to work out as well as everyone would have hoped, but I was legitimately surprised at how the writers put it all together. There were plenty of moments that made me laugh. There was a ton of stuff going on in the background that required another look. The various subplots all came together in the end without any of them feeling out of place. While the ideas for the stories here aren't anything new, it's really the characters and the creativity that help them to stand out. And the moral of giving up what you wanted to do something for each other is a nice touch. Even though we had a few cliche moments where I was rolling my eyes, like when the Daring Do collector was giving in near the end, I for one had a lot of fun watching Traja. The positives certainly outweigh the negatives, and I'm sure I'll be viewing it a couple more times in the near future. In the meantime though, I would like to hear your thoughts. Of the 3 main plot lines going on in this episode, which one do you think had the most engaging story? Of the 3 main 6 pairings here, which of them had the funniest moments? Have you found any more subtle references and background stories in this episode that others may not have noticed? I would like to hear your thoughts on Traja, and here's looking forward to the next episode involving multiple storylines that each manage to have their entertaining moments. I am DRWolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.